Recording in
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us this evening on behalf of all of us on City Council. My name is Trippy Congo, President of City Council. And again, just on behalf of all of my colleagues, we want to thank you for joining us. Today is Thursday, March the 17th. Just as a reminder for public comment, there is a Google Form sign-up link in the chat for anyone who would like to give public comment, and public comment will take place after the Treasurer's report. To begin, we will have an opening prayer by Akira, Granada.
Heavenly Father, we have assembled to handle the affairs of our city. As we do so, we ask for your guidance and understanding. We pray that our city reaches a place of peace and safety. Keep us out of harm's way and bless those who are in authority. Let respect be key in all our endeavors. Amen.
Amen. This time we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United
of the United States of America,
to the republic
to the republic
which it stands,
under God,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray.
I have a drink menu for you on top of it.
Councilwoman Gray. Councilwoman Darby.
Present.
Just want to send a friendly reminder for everyone to please mute your microphones. Everyone, please mute your microphones. Thank you.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Present.
Councilwoman Hartley.
Present.
Councilwoman Field. Councilwoman McCoy.
Fields is present.
Thank you. Councilwoman McCoy. Councilman Johnson.
Here.
Councilman Field.
Present.
Councilwoman Cabrera.
Here.
Councilman Mills.
Present.
Councilman Spadola.
Present.
Councilwoman Walsh.
Here,
Mr. President, if I may circle back, I see Councilwoman Gray,
present.
Councilwoman McCoy, and President Congo.
Here, thank you.
12 present and 1 absent.
All right, this time we will have a suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second,
To suspend the rules.
It's been properly moved and seconded to suspend the rules for the purpose of the mayor to present his budget address. On the question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. We will now present Mayor Michael Przicki's pre-recorded budget address for fiscal year 2023.
That's my phone. Could you get it?
Good evening. As we emerge from the worst pandemic in over a century, we find ourselves in a very different world from the one we occupied just 2 years ago. Mask wearing is entirely optional. We are returning to our restaurants, bars, and entertainment venues. Offices are emptier. More people now work at home. As a result, our streets and sidewalks are quieter, especially during the lunch hour. People are just now adapting to sitting next to a neighbor and speaking directly to one another instead of on Zoom calls. Our government performed well during this challenging period in our history. Of almost 1,100 current city employees, over 800 of them showed up to work routinely as if nothing happened. They stared COVID in the face and performed admirably. For that, they will be awarded over $3 million in premium pay as a gesture of appreciation from their city government and its citizens. Our city economy continued to grow as new projects defied the conventional view that the economy was suffering. 1,000 apartment units remain online to be available for occupancy over the next year, bringing the city much needed tax revenue. While the overall value of the permits decreased from 2020, the number of permits increased, indicating a vibrant development economy. This year, we will open new hotels and a number of first-rate restaurants in the downtown, including Bardea Steaks, owned and operated by James Beard contenders Scott Stein and Antimo DeMeo. Much of what we accomplish in government is not glamorous, but is still so very important. With the partnership and cooperation of County Executive Matt Meyer, our respective negotiating teams have all but completed the arduous task of presenting to our governments a new and fair wastewater treatment agreement that has eluded city and county governments for decades. We look forward to seeing the final product of an almost year-long negotiation. Our thanks to the members of these teams for their hard work and dedication. We made 2 operational changes in city government that will vastly improve customer service for our taxpayers. Our 311 system is designed to improve customer service and increase employee accountability. Every call and online inquiry is tracked and recorded. We now know the response time of every department in dealing with inquiries and complaints of our most valuable customers, our residents. Each year, we can expect approximately 104,000 calls for everything from special pickups and parking ticket appeals to reporting potholes. Before 311 was operational, the average wait time for a caller was upwards of 6 minutes. Today, it is less than 1 minute. Excluding Public Works and L&I calls, which by their very nature take time to resolve, 63% of all other contacts are resolved on 1 call. It is a highly effective customer service module and is improving each day as we continue to train our users on its functions. In summary, 311 allows us to identify each and every call to the city and faithfully record our department's responses to these calls. The second operational improvement in our government is the renaming of our planning department to the Land Use and Planning Department. The revamped department will combine parts of each of our departments that currently deal with land use approvals and permits. Applying for building permits, for example, currently requires an applicant to deal with license and inspections, planning, public works, and the fire marshal's office. These offices are not located together, and try as they might, they do not efficiently coordinate. Parts of each of these departments will soon be located on 1 floor to streamline the process of securing building permits for our development community and to make securing permits for small residential applicants considerably more user-friendly. Wilmington, like cities across America, was rocked by high levels of violent crime throughout 2021. This unrelenting violence shook our confidence in our ability to protect our neighborhoods and ensure civic tranquility. But this year, while major cities like New York, Chicago, and Philadelphia all experienced continued high levels of violence, and Baltimore had its deadliest year since the 70s, Wilmington's violent crime has plummeted during the first 3 months of this year, proving to be the safest for our citizens since before 2015. While I am not in any way declaring victory over city violence, I am encouraged by the current trends and deeply appreciative of our outstanding police department for the great job it does protecting us each and every day. I'm further appreciative of the great work done by our Attorney General Kathy Jennings and U.S. Attorney David Weiss, whose cooperation with Chief Tracy on removing guns from our streets has, in my judgment, been one of the keys to this year's reduction in gun violence. Before anyone knew what ARPA was, I had determined to put $5 million aside from our fund balance to invest in the East Side, one of our most historic and yet one of the most neglected parts of town. With the coming of the American Rescue Plan, together we were able to commit tens of millions of dollars to neighborhood redevelopment, greatly enhancing our investment footprint on the East Side and in other neighborhoods in the city. ARPA gives us the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to test whether plentiful resources can make a meaningful difference in the overall health of impoverished neighborhoods. As with so many endeavors in life, it is difficult to succeed without the cooperation of partners. We selected the East Side in part because of the tremendous commitment made by Governor Carney in improving childhood education, starting with the construction of a new $80+ million Bancroft School. Howard High remains an iconic city educational anchor. Woodlawn Trustees is committing to rehabilitating 60 of its existing residents and to build 20 more new ones. Habitat for Humanity is committed to building 20 more new homes, adding to the projects already completed on the Bennett Street and the East Side. Reverend Keeling and Central Baptist CDC are already reliable development partners on the East Side with whom we are already working. It is worth mentioning that the exciting development and rehabilitation of our neighborhoods will largely be performed by minority contractors and DBEs whose participation we have vigorously solicited and supported. In addition, we have partnered with the Votech School District to provide paid training for our young people in the construction trades, a highly compensated gateway to upward social mobility. With the cooperation of Council, we have determined to invest in some of our not-for-profits, understanding that we cannot fund all of them, worthy as some may be. We reserve our funding for those who we collectively believe will contribute most directly to our efforts in improving all our neighborhoods and the lives of our children. Together, we have agreed to set aside up to $8 million for violence reduction. We all traveled to Newark, New Jersey together to understand what the city where I grew up was doing that resulted in measurable reductions in crime. We have invited Akira to visit with us and have contracted with his firm to do a landscape analysis of our social service and public safety infrastructures and to determine how effectively they interact with one another. We look forward to reviewing the information and working on a strategy for Wilmington. We continue to fund our clean teams and in fact have expanded the footprint of affected neighborhoods. Nothing is any more noticeable to visitors and residents alike when clean parks, streets, and sidewalks. Delmarva informs us that they have recently completed installing LED lighting throughout the entire East Side and should have the balance of the 5,900 total lights in the city substantially completed by the end of this fall. The city's 1,300 lights have already been retrofitted for LED fixtures, and all lights self-report any outage. No more long-lasting dark streets. Over the past 2 years, we have declined to raise needed revenues through tax increases because through a severe pandemic, this would have been untenable for any number of reasons. We relied instead on CARES Act and rate stabilization funds to help us offset our losses of revenues. This year, however, we must be more disciplined about our finances. As has been our practice since we took office, we will not just look at the current year budget, but 5 years ahead in making our budgetary decisions. While finances have generally stabilized, there is an unsettling threat of a continued loss of revenues from a number of sources. Working from home threatens our wage tax revenues, resulting in current collections being down $1.5 million and tax refunds increasing by an additional $2.4 million. Red light safety camera fines are down $1.6 million, and real estate tax appeals have resulted in an annual loss of $800,000. Compared to 2019, our interest revenue is down $1.5 million. All told, these revenue lines add up to a loss of $7.8 million. Now, we have found some offsetting sources of revenue and have made budget cuts, but the challenge remains real. Thanks to the outstanding work by my department directors and senior management led by Chief of Staff Tanny Washington, This year's operating expenditures represent only a 2.4% increase over fiscal year 2022. In order to balance this year's budget with the lower revenues, we would need only a small transfer from fund balance, from ARPA funds, or for a modest tax increase. But a sensible look down the road reveals an untenable deficit in years to come if we're not prudent today. Deferring tough decisions would conceivably result in a $40 million cumulative deficit through FY 2026 and a fund balance bordering on insolvency. As I have described to all of Council in several recent meetings, I'm proposing a 7.5% tax increase in this year's operating budget that will give us a small surplus in this fiscal year, but one that can be used to help balance future budgets. Council must realize that in order not to leave our successors with catastrophic deficits, we have to raise additional sources of revenue. These additional revenues must include a long overdue increase of all of the city's permits and license fees. They also will almost certainly include another property tax increase in the near future. As for the use of ARPA funds, we propose using $12 million of these funds to smooth the transition back to pay-as-you-go budgeting. An alternative to tax increase, of course, is to cut spending, which in city government, as with most governments, means layoffs. The tax increase in this budget amounts to replacing lost revenue of about $3 million, or in terms of corresponding personnel cuts, in excess of 30 employees in this year alone. This is in addition to the 14 positions already reduced in this budget, 7 of which are unfilled positions from the police department. As I stated earlier, the members of WPD have done an outstanding job catching those who commit unthinkable violence and taking guns off the streets. I have no intention of limiting their ability to perform their difficult task by further reducing their ranks. Hopefully, there will be a day when the department can function with less, but today is not that day. Regarding the police, we are in a time of great social change which necessarily involves members of our police department. These changes involve, among other issues, the existence of citizens' review boards, the legislation for which our government adopted a year ago. We have delayed implementation because of the suggested changes by the legislation's sponsor, Councilman Johnson, and now because of state-proposed legislation which will define and limit just what role our own board will be able to play in reviewing allegations of police misconduct. In any case, be assured that a board will be appointed forthwith. I'm also asking Council to approve a 5% increase in the water rate. This is less than the suggested rate of 7.5% from our Utility Citizens Advisory Board. Wilmington's water utility does not have the political flexibility that our operation budget has. As costs rise and as capital needs are required, there is no choice but to raise rates. We look forward to a discussion of these rate increase requests during budget hearings. We should keep in mind that with regard to both property taxes and sewer and water rates, each has only been raised modestly over the past 5 years. With regard to property taxes, this is the second tax increase in 6 years, yielding an average annual increase of 2.5%. The sewer and water rates have only averaged 3% over that same time frame. The larger context of our budget should always be the goals and objectives we have for our city. We should all be asking ourselves why we are here. Well, first, we must operate our government efficiently and deliver services promptly and effectively while earning the trust of our citizens. But when we ask ourselves what else we can accomplish together, for me the answer is always the same. I want a just city that is better than America. I want prosperity to be shared among all our citizens. I want to find the best way to educate our children, and I want to strengthen families and neighborhoods. I want to allow our neighbors to live unafraid of the violence that shatters lives. These tasks are easy to talk about and very hard to accomplish. Critics are everywhere. Those who make real progress are vanishingly rare. I look at this time as your mayor as an opportunity to permanently change our city for the better. More than any one of you, I'm aware of the limits of my allotted time here, not only as mayor, but also the limits of my time here on earth. As such, I have no time to waste. I am impatient for progress. I am anxious to see our neighborhoods thrive once again. I am anxious for Wilmington to take its place among the best cities in America. Together, We can do so much. I invite you to join me. Thank you.
This time I make a motion to return to the regular order of business.
So
Second.
moved.
So moved.
Been properly moved and second that council return to the regular order of business on the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Also like to recognize Councilwoman McCoy. This time I have the reading of the minutes from the previous meeting.
March 3rd, 2022, City Council met on regular session virtually with remote participation on the above date at 6:30 p.m. President Ernest M. Congo II presiding. The opening prayer was done by Akira, Granada, Deputy City Clerk. The Pledge of Allegiance was recited by City Council. The
I
following.
move the minutes be accepted as written.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the minutes be accepted as written on the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. This time I have the city treasurer's report.
March 17, 2022. Total investment, $467,819,283.68. Total cash on hand, $15,034,900.59. Grand total, $482,854,184.27. Submitted by Dwayne Sims, City Treasurer.
I move the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed on the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. This time we'll have public comment. If anyone has signed up. I believe we have one constituent, Brandon Fletcher, who signed up. Brandon, are you still with us?
Mr. President, I do not see Brandon Fletcher on the attendee side.
Okay. All right. Thank you, WITN. And we're seeing no one who has signed up for public comment. I think I saw someone just, did someone just raise their hand, WITN? No.
Briefly saw,
Yeah,
we have
Christina K. Thank you for joining us. Did you have any public comment, Ms. Kelly?
Hi, I did. I'm having all kinds of technical issues though, so I'm sorry if this doesn't come through very well.
No, you're fine.
Thank you for an opportunity to speak, President Congo. I just wanted to very quickly address some minor concerns that I have with the budget as proposed. I'm highly concerned about a 7.5% tax increase. As we're literally emerging from a global pandemic, where people have been unemployed for a year or more. People are going through health issues and so on and so forth. We've talked a lot over the last year or two about increasing home ownership in the city. And it just, to me, it seems absolutely insane to increase any tax by 7.5% while we're trying to increase home ownership. But then to add on top of that we're also going to increase water and sewage tax. I'm really concerned hearing that that's where the city administration's mindset is going to. And I'm very hopeful that over the budget hearings, we are able to kind of address that and maybe bring that down. If any increases at all, to a much more mild increase. Again, just because we are, in some ways, still in the throes of a global pandemic. That's highly concerning to me. So I just wanted to share that little piece. And hopefully, like I said, through the budget hearings, we will be able to make that a little bit more moderate of a change. Thank you for an opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you. Not seeing anyone else. I'll make sure we don't skip over anyone. WITN, do you see anyone else who has their hand raised for public comment?
Mr. President, I do not see any more hands raised, and I do not see any additional names on the list.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we will move to legislative business. Councilmember Johnson.
Yes, Council President. I have an ordinance to present and call for the first and second reading.
Ordinance 22-013, Agenda 0150, an ordinance establishing a rate of taxation on real property and the taxable property of public utilities for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2022 and ending on June 30th, 2023.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance establishing a rate of taxation on real property and the taxable property of public utilities for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2022 and ending on June 30th, 2023.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance, and I refer it to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Finance and Economic Development Committee. You may continue.
Mr. President, I have another ordinance to present and call for first and second reading.
Ordinance 22-014, Agenda 0151, an ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2023 to 2028 inclusive.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to adopt an ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2023 to 2028 inclusive.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the first and second reading ordinance and refer it to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Mr. President, I have another ordinance to present and call for first and second reading.
Ordinance 22-015, Agenda 0152, an ordinance to adopt a capital budget for fiscal year 2023.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to adopt a capital budget for fiscal year 2023.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer it to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for first and second reading.
Ordinance 22-016, Agenda 0153, an ordinance adopting the annual operating budget for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2022 and ending on June 30th, 2023.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance adopting the annual operating budget for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2022 and ending on June 30th, 2023.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the enacting clause, the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
It's been properly, excuse me. It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
And finally, Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for first and second reading.
Ordinance 22-017, Agenda 0154, an ordinance to amend Chapter 45 of the City Code regarding sewer system rates and charges and water rates and charges for fiscal year 2023.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 45 of the City Code regarding sewer system rates and charges and water rates and charges for fiscal year 2023.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the first and second reading of ordinance and refer it to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Mr. President, I believe that completes my items for this evening. Thank you.
All
very
right,
much.
thank you. Thank you, Councilman Johnson. At this time, we will move to petitions and communications, starting with Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you. Now, I just want to remind the citizens that we're not going to have plastic bags by the middle of the month, so remember to bring your bags. And also, one other thing I think a lot of us have missed is that I think the governor signed something that said that we aren't to release balloons. They're very hazardous to the environment and to waterfowl. So just a couple reminders. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Darby.
Council President, I don't have anything for tonight.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Oliver.
Yeah, Mr. President, I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harley.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to announce that on the last Thursday, the fourth Thursday of this month, I don't have my calendar in front of me, but there's going to be a civic association meeting on 8th and Walnut at Ezion Mount Carmel Church. I want to say that's March the 27th. If you can confirm that date, the fourth Thursday in March. Again, the East Side Civic Association will be having a meeting starting at 6 o'clock at Ezion Mount Carmel. And the topic is going to be around the Walnut Street project. So we want as many residents to come out to share their feedback at that particular meeting. And we're also going to have the Patriot Home Incorporation. They will be coming as well to talk about aging out gracefully. So that's also going to be held on the same date on that Thursday for the East Side Civic Association. That's all I have, Mr. President. May I be excused?
Yes, and the fourth Thursday is March the 25th. Sorry, March the 24th. You're talking about March, this month, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's next Thursday is the 24th.
Yes, so thank you. So Thursday, March the 24th, East Side Civic Association, Ezion Mount Carmel on 8th and Walnut. Thank you very much.
Okay, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, you may be excused. Councilwoman Fields.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I do have a few items. On Monday, March the 21st at 6 p.m., the Healthy Aging Subcommittee will be having a meeting. It's going to be virtual, and they will just be approving some minutes. They will be nominating 2 co-chairpersons for the subcommittee, and they will be reviewing some received information from council. And then on the 23rd will be my first as chair, as far as the Health, Aging, and Disability Committee meeting at 5 o'clock. Also, there were my apologies. I thought I had everything out. I always have a quote, but I can't find my quote. So if somebody want to give me back their minutes, I appreciate it. But that would be it for now. I just want to say, happy Women's Month to everyone. We all are, there are quite a few women on council, and I'm just hoping that we all can get together as a sisterhood and just continue to support each other and do what we need to do as women for the City of Wilmington of Delaware. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually have just 2 announcements to make. One, just to make sure that everyone knows, we will be having a meeting, the very first meeting in person for Bayard Square. That will be taking place next Tuesday, March 22nd at 7 p.m. Those meetings take place at the Turner's Club at 701 South Clayton Street. We are actually looking for more officers. We're recruiting officers for that board. So I hope that, everyone within the sound of my voice that lives within that area will attend that meeting. We will be trying to send out other information as well to get you there. The other thing is I just would like to thank Deldot Wilmapco for coming out to do a presentation for the Hedgeville Civic Association just this past Tuesday. there's a lot to be done when it comes to Dowdeye finishing up the corridor. Jackson Street is actually a major part that took place early on, and we would like to make certain that the people within the community have a little bit more say about what happens next as they do the beautification once they've completed their renovations of the I-95 corridor. So we will be we'll be back out. We'll be trying to make certain that we get to hear your voices and what you would like to see coming soon, because there's a plan that's happening. And if we don't make certain that we get our voices heard, it'll just roll right by. So just wanted to make you aware. So I thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you. I would like to recognize City Treasurer Sims, who has joined us for this evening's meeting. Councilman Johnson.
Yes, first I just would like to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day for all those who are Irish or celebrating and supporting this great day. As people are out now more, I was out earlier along Union Street and people are out, so please, when you're out, still try to be safe. COVID is still lingering a little bit among us, so just enjoy and drive safe. If you need a ride, please call Uber or Lyft. So, and as another announcement, kind of dovetailing into that, there's a free COVID at-home testing giveaway all week. It's sponsored by Newcastle County and Westside Grove and Be Ready CDC. They continue to promote health in our community. So the one today was actually at Be Ready Church. That was a walk-up. But tomorrow, Friday, from 4:30 to 6:30, and Sunday from 12 to 2, there's a walk-up and drive-up at Woodlawn Library. Again, it's Woodlawn Library, Friday, 4:30 to 6:30, and Sunday, 12 to 2. You can never have too many at-home tests. As COVID is unpredictable. Numbers are low right now, but as we've seen, numbers can spike up again. So please try to get your at-home test, and it's one per household. And then finally, as a follow-up to the mayor's budget address, the ball is now in council's court. So now council will be seriously vetting and combing through every single line item on the budget. And that is one of our primary duties. And so budget season officially kicks off this March 30th, Wednesday, March 30th at 5 p.m., where the budgets of the mayor's office, treasurer's office, and city council will be scrutinized, and there'll be hearings on those budgets. And budget hearings will continue weekly throughout the month of, April, ending up in May, and then we will hopefully be able to have a budget that is passed in May. So that's the schedule. It is a very busy schedule, but we again will be doing more PR to invite the public to become engaged, because it's up to you all who elect us to let us know what you want in the city budget and how we can better serve the city residents as we continue to go through tough times and rise out of COVID. So I appreciate everyone staying engaged. Please pay attention to the City Council website and also WIPN Channel 22, where the budget hearings will be streamed. And please continue to stay engaged. Stay safe out there.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cabrera.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Again, happy Women's Month as we celebrate women's history. Just keep encouraging our young ladies to know that they too can make history, one person at a time. It is also colon cancer month, so please remember to get your colonoscopy. Not a fun thing to talk about, but if you catch it early, it's the time to do it. And I want to welcome, Councilman Johnson had mentioned it, but he just had a new business open in his district, and I was there with him this afternoon for the ribbon cutting. So the Union Street Pub is now officially open on the corner of 7th and Union Street. So please go out and support them and help another new business in our city. And last but not least, I just want to comment that Councilman Oliver and myself, we were at the National League of Cities Conference in Washington, D.C. It was a really good conference. It's the first time that we all got together in person. It's always wonderful to network with other cities to see what they're doing with the challenges that they have, and to see that they pretty much have the same challenges that we do, just a little different, but that working together, we can network and pick up ideas. One of the biggest takeaways from the conference that I want to share with you is the push for the infrastructure bill. Now that it has been passed, it is the first bipartisan win for President Joe Biden. He spoke about it and how that is going to really filter into every nook and cranny of all communities. Obviously, with the ARPA funds, as we see us using them here in Wilmington, what that's going to do for our infrastructure and for our neighborhoods. Just want to add how amazing that's going to be to have that money flowing into our cities. That means union jobs, labor jobs, sidewalks, streets, bridges, things that everyone in the community can benefit from. So I just wanted to share that we all got to roll up our sleeves and work really hard to make it happen, but that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And even here in Wilmington with the neighborhood stabilization that the mayor spoke of in his address, you know, the contractors that are doing the work on those land bank properties, and a lot of those properties, they are minority owned contractors, they're apprentices, young people who are very interested in getting into that type of work. So all of this is going to trickle into our community. I know it's going to take time, but I feel that after this dark spell that we have had, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But as Councilman Johnson mentioned, please don't take it for granted. Continue to test, wear your mask when you are in crowds, because we don't want to go back to how things were. So let's try to keep ourselves safe. And that's all for this evening, Mr. President. And may I be excused?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Spadola.
Thank you, Council President. You know, I think the mayor's budget proposal is a stark reminder that even with all the one-time money flowing into the city, we still have to grapple with the structural deficit that we have, and the fact that people working from home, that's a phenomenon that is not going to go away, and it's going to evolve. And we still have to reckon with that. So I think as we go through these budget hearings, we need to have a five-year, 10-year lens that we're looking at this with. And, I really think there's some fat we need to cut off the bone. 7.5% increase is severe, especially with more on the table. So I just think, this is, I encourage the public and council members to look for opportunities to cut costs in the departments as we go through the hearings, and to reach out to council, to reach out to the mayor's office with those suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to give Councilwoman Brigida Fields a few minutes for her quotes, please.
Thank you so much, Council President. This is geared towards Women's History Month. The first one is, "The most beautiful woman is unafraid to be herself." That's by an unknown author. The second one I want to read, and this is for all my women in council, all of the women in the city of Wilmington and the state of Delaware. "I've always believed that one woman's success can only help another woman's success." And that is by Gloria Vanderbilt. Thank you, Council President. I appreciate it. And again, women, we are strong and we can stand together. So let's just band together to make sure that we have a stronger Wilmington. Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome. Thank you. Just want to remind everyone in the public to please get engaged with council during our budget hearing process. It's very important that we hear from you and that we react accordingly as a council. And to my fellow colleagues on council, just a reminder that this is our time to approve a budget that we, that we feel our constituents are deserving of. And it's really a time where we can put things in a budget that will really reflect some of the needs and desires of our constituents. So I just want to remind us that this is really our time, and collectively we can work together to put things in the budget that will help our residents. I also want to commend Mayor Purzycki for not only thinking short term on this budget address, but long term, even after he's gone. But as council members and hearing from our constituents, we do have to do collectively what we think is going to be best for our city, both short term and long term. I also want to congratulate the men's basketball team at Tower Hill School on their state championship, and also congratulate Salesiano School, who played in the championship, but they weren't able to pull it off. So I want to congratulate both teams. Again, I just want to remind our constituents to get engaged, stay engaged, and council members just to work together to come up with a budget that's going to make sense for our city as a whole. With that, I will accept. And so I think I see Councilwoman Gray's hand up. Councilwoman Gray.
President, just a moment. We're encouraging the public to get engaged repeatedly. And at the last Public Safety Committee meeting, we had a constituent that asked a question, and she was told that she would be responded to by staff, not even by a council member, but by staff. My understanding, since we got rid of public comment in real time in council meeting.
A point of order.
No, this is the only time I have to.
Councilmember Gray has already had her time.
I gave her additional time, Councilman Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you. That's one of the things I'm really sick and tired of, people trying to shut me down and shut me up. But if we're asking constituents and the public to get engaged, then we should be able to answer the questions. Them just asking questions and us telling the constituent that someone from council, a staff member is going to get back to them, does not really allow a conversation and for us to understand a lot of concerns of our public. So I think we need to look at that, get it straight. I thought from all our conversation about public comment that the committee meetings are where we're supposed to have discussions, not on the floor, but in the committee meeting. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilwoman Oliver, did you need additional time?
I was gonna make, thank you, Council President. No, I'll talk to you about it off record because I know this was the meeting tonight for the mayor's budget. So I'll talk to you later about it. Thank you anyway.
Okay, all right, thank you. And Councilwoman Gray, you brought up a really good point. I did mean to speak to that. So I would just hope that the chairs of our committees are respectful and sensitive to our constituents, because we have talked for years about how the committee meetings is when we can really have discussions with our community members. So we want to make sure that we are not shutting them down, and that we are open for engagement and for their questions and comments. So you brought up a really good point, Councilwoman Gray. I'm glad you remember that, because I did want to speak to it. Because what I noticed and what you noticed was definitely not fair to that constituent, especially for us trying to be a transparent council and wanting constituents to engage. We want to make sure that we are staying true to our word. So thank you, Councilwoman Gray. And with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay.
It's been properly moved and second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.
Hey,
Carol.
hey, Trippy. You see Norfolk State went to the dance. Happy DSU.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Green and gold.